Good morning, everybody. You're tuned into Crag. Thank you for being here with me today, which is Sunday the 7th of April 2024. So today we're here and we're going to be talking about disclosure, because make no mistake, this year is kicking off, man. There's so many things that's happening already this year that's flying under the radar, and if you know where to look, if you're like listening to the right people, then you kind of get a bit of a trajectory for all of this and a bit of a triangulation of what it is that's kind of being planned behind the scenes. Because if you're looking, and I've always said this, if you're looking at different aspects of information, just not looking at one, saying that's what's going on, that's the deal. Ultimately, if you're not just looking at one thing, you get a bit of a wider view, because a lot of people will just lock on to one explanation. And in my opinion, I've said this before, that is inherently embedded with flaws, simply because this system, this systemic takeover of the planet, the manipulation and the control it's part of so many different aspects. If you say that it's just to do with one, you will ultimately be debunked, and it will then kind of discredit the whole narrative that there's something greater going on. So, in my opinion, that's by design, but then, in my opinion, it's all by design. And if you've been paying close attention to any of these videos that I've been doing over the last few years, then yeah, you'll know that's exactly what I've said. It's all by design. I mean, disclosure. From what you can gather, if you look out there, like I say, looking at the right sources, listening to the right people, what they're doing is all of these different major podcasters are taking on to their shows specific types of people, whistleblowers, etc. And I would say pay close attention to the ones that you wouldn't really want to listen to, up to a certain point, of course. Especially when you get people that are like ex-CIA and all that kind of stuff. Because these folks, a lot of the time what they don't say is more interesting. But from what I can gather, and this is just my opinion, it seems as though the narrative is being pushed for a controlled disclosure of technologies pertaining to energy. And what that does is it brings about, don't get me wrong, free energy is fantastic, but it brings about the capabilities for even more centralization. Because if you can get everybody running on this stuff, on this free energy stuff, ultimately all the technology that is based upon it has got to be of a certain type. And as much as free energy and technology that runs off of it isn't necessarily a bad thing, for sure, man. Like, I'm not trying to be a doomsayer and say, oh, it's all fucking bad. We should run to the hills, you know, and get our horse and plough, start tilling the land, because we're past that in society. That's not where we are anymore. To say that would be silly. You know, 500-600 years ago, that's the way people lived. Perhaps not even that far back. But nowadays we are in a technological age and we do need more tech in order to move forward. But in my opinion, technology should assist the human race in their spiritual gains as opposed to taking them away from it. You got people talking about nowadays how if you implant, and people are out there literally promoting this Neuralink stuff, saying that it will allow people to have psychic abilities. Everybody's already got that. And this is what is warned of by other people, you see, when they're saying, look, this technological age is by the design of, oh God, I don't want to say evil, but there are evil forces, bad forces. It's by the design of that side of things. And what that wants you to do is to give away your spirituality, give away the essence of what it means to actually be alive and assimilate yourself into this artificial intelligence future where we're all kind of bionic human beings. Now, enhancing people with technology, whatever, right? We enhanced ourselves the moment we put on a wristwatch. But putting a chip in your brain and telling you that it will give you a link to everybody's thoughts and opinions, and that is the best way to move forward in mankind, because there can't be any lies and so forth. And ultimately, this will give us a greater understanding of each other. We're in the age of deception for a reason. The reason why these people don't care that you can see their deceptions, and by these people I mean the cabal. The cabal. Is because they want you to run towards a lack of deception. But I'll tell you this right now, putting a chip in your brain so you can hear everybody's thoughts, so there's no more deception, is not the way forward. Because everybody, given the right amount of training and given the right amount of time to develop and evolve themselves in a spiritual way, would have the ability for, you know, psychic extrasensory perception. Apparently there are parts of our DNA that are inactive. Move towards switching that back on, I would say, rather than just putting a chip in somebody's brain which will ultimately render them a slave. Who do you think controls that chip? Who do you think controls the software? Is it not true that Microsoft installed a backdoor into every single program that was installed on any computer ever, so these bigwig Microsoft technicians can get in there no matter what? I think it's also true that antivirus software does the same thing. So, I mean, look at what happened to John McAfee. That was because apparently he did the same thing with his software, and he managed to get intel on everyone. Everyone who had his antivirus software installed. Made him a very powerful, but yet a very dangerous and wanted man. So, if you install a microchip in your brain, somebody has to own the technology, the physical hardware, And somebody has to own the software that is now being enabled to give you that connection to the cloud. Well, have you heard of the Akashic Records? People like Edgar Cayce, and not just Edgar Cayce, but being the most famous one, I would say. People like Edgar Cayce are able to access the Akashic Records, which is, I think, Akashic or Akash or something like that. I'm probably fluffing this, but in an ancient language, maybe it's Sumerian or Babylonian or something like this, it means ether. So the ethereal records. The ether is that which is around us. And what this means is there is a constant, basically, record. The record button was pressed the moment life started, and everything is recorded. Therefore, you can go back and look at anything. There's already an ethereal cloud recording every single piece of information. If you look up the work of Dr. David Hawkins, he did a book called Power versus Force. I've spoken about it on this channel before. He talks about the exact same thing, just in a different language. He says that there is a recording of everything, every thought, every single fact, every single thing that's ever happened, even down to the singular thoughts you've had. And this can be accessed with kinesiology, which gives you a direct yes or no answer to any question that you're willing to ask of it. Look into that. It's already there, people. The ability to do this stuff is already there, but you're being lied to. All right, and all of this technology is going to work on the same grid. So they've got to get you to not want, or they've got to buckle every system before they replace it. All right? Because they want you to want it. If they just come in, because they know that they're untrustworthy, and they know everybody deep down inherently knows that they're untrustworthy. If somebody, a bad person, just swoops in and says, oh, by the way, I've got this great plan, you're going to go, fuck off, mate. But if the previous system fucking crashes and burns, but what you're going to do is you will probably accept anything that anyone says at that point. So they've got to get the energy system to crash. They've got to get people so fed up of this particular energy system that people will be willing to accept something new. And then you get all of this ET disclosure stuff. Now, it's quite clear that there are spaceships flying around. Anybody looking at the sky for 10 minutes, on any given day will probably see something that they can't identify with rational thought. Now, ultimately, if you haven't, it's not a problem. You probably will someday see something that you can't explain in the sky, flying around in a way that doesn't match the current level of our supposed technology. Man-made, I would say, quite a lot of it. Some of it, not so much. But the narrative is that nowadays, you can see this being pushed by people like the CIA. And this is why you've got to question that, because they are an organisation that is about espionage and control. Now, I get it. A lot of truths can't be told because perhaps mass panic. But I say fuck it. Let it all out there and see where the dust settles. It's the only way to truly get the truth of a situation. Otherwise, if you don't do it that way, what happens is somebody controlling what is put out there and at what pace. And at that point, you've got narrative, you've got agenda. And these people's agenda doesn't seem to have that much of a good track record. So that's where I land on it, because I think anybody giving a slow drip of disclosure is going to be giving that for a reason. So now they're trying to say that yes, UFOs are real, yes, life on other planets and other in the universe is real, and we've got these craft, and there was like non-human biologics inside, And they've been studying it, and they've said yes, people do study in a compartmentalized fashion this technology, this exotic tech. Coined it. But anyway, somebody somewhere in an underground lab is going, fuck that, I said that first. That's my word. Nice. But anyway, clever bloke or woman. Got a sense of humour. So, all of this stuff, it's being given on agenda, clearly, because anything that is being given, and because somebody's got to decide, is what I'm saying. Somebody's got to decide. And who's deciding? Who's the person put in charge, excuse me, to say, this is what we'll let out? Well, you can guarantee it's the same people that are running the show right now. And if they're not trustworthy, well then why would you trust their agenda when it comes down to the propelling of the human race into the future with regards to what happens and how we progress and with what and by what means? Because if free energy is something that we're going to be given, and they're going to have to give you free energy if they do the whole UFO disclosure thing, because ain't no one going to believe that it takes fucking unleaded petrol to get to the fucking moon, or to get to, you know, the Sirius galaxy, whatever it is, the Sirius star system, I don't know. But anyway, Orion's belt. Fucking Zeta Reticuli. Anyway, no one's going to believe that you got an ESO up there on the moon and you're fucking pumping it full of unleaded. No way. You've got to have a different type of energy. So they've got to let that out. And the reason they've got to let that out, in my opinion, is because they've got to give you this alien disclosure, because they know that people are switching on. But wrapped up in all of that, what you've got is a way to maintain control. This is where it starts to get fruity. Because they're going to tell you that there's an ancient civilization they're all related to, and that means that they have actually got this divine right to rule, and these ETs are going to come here and they're going to have this disclosure event, and when this disclosure event, when this meeting of the ETs happens, they're going to back it up and say, yeah, by the way, these people are related to us, and you know, these are the people that are supposed to rule. Not only that, they'll destroy your belief in anything positive in the process and offer up a brand new singular one world religion. That's ultimately what they want, because it's centralization. So they've got to offer up a one world energy system. So now everybody's working on the same energy, and all the tech is working off that same energy. They need a one world currency, which they're already working towards. Don't need to go into that one. And they want a one world religion. How do they do all of that? Well, they've got to buckle all the other ones first, but then they've got to offer up something that is globally effective. Now, what is it that diminishes all religion? Well, something that is, because what is it that connects us all? Being a human being. We might be white, we might be black, we might be fucking yellow, but we're all human beings. We've all got fucking 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, and a fucking beating heart. Alright? Some of us are deformed, and we haven't got those physical attributes, but you know what I'm saying. Alright? Apologies to the people that haven't got 2 eyes or 2 arms or whatever. Well, you know what I'm saying here. We're all fucking the 5-star human being. Alright? Doesn't matter what colour skin you've got. So that's the one thing that unifies us all. But we all believe different shit. So the way to get us under one banner is to do something that is defiant, or at least separate, adverse, you know, opposite end of the